Let's talk about a strategy game that does not feature a lot of blow-ups. I'm sure they're in there. We didn't see them. We didn't get that far. Civ 6. We got a chance to sit down and jump into this very different version of Civilization than what we saw last time, right?
Yeah, yeah. It looks great.
Yeah.
The game looks really good. I
Yep.
really like the way it looked.
I had to do an interview, and I gotta say, it was really hard to pull my fingers off of the keyboard and the mouse to leave my civilization and go. You know, I felt very protective of the sprawl that I was building, and I think that's the major change here is you actually can see all of the detail of the city and the world that you're building, man.
It feels like you're really kind of getting out there, and I think that is sort of the thing is it's changing the way the tiles and the stacking and everything works, and so
Yeah.
it feels like you really are. Yeah, sprawl's right. This is Los Angeles, not New York. You are just going out and kind of getting a lot of area down. That being said, I sucked in my 30 turns.
Yeah.
I just made every wrong decision. I'm like, I'm going to be a warmonger because like what? Am I going to be diplomatic? I have 30, 40 turns. I'm like not going to be diplomatic. I'm like, I'm going to fight. And
Yeah.
I just sucked. And I kept getting my ass kicked. What was it? Who was the dick?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes, who was at first inviting you to come and take a look at his teddy bear collection, or he's like, haha, they've made bears about me, and then he's ready to like send his whole army after your ass.
This is what I think of you, Ben Silverman. Here, suck on some of these tentacles, Silverman.
I was like, what? Teddy?
Yeah,
Dick? Yeah. He just murdered me to death. Steve Tilley, should also talk to Steve Tilley. He did great. I
Yeah.
went and looked at his game. He had like founded 6 cities or 5 cities. I had 2 that were lame. He
I had
6
one, but I had gotten to the point of creating, like religious, like I had favored in the religion category, so I think I was about to get like one of the big wonders or something like that before we had to walk away. So I was doing okay, and nobody had really of major prominence had attacked me. I had taken out some of these smaller pockets of civilization, other types of smaller enemies, but I know that Roosevelt was sniffing me out, and I knew that conflict was about to happen. Yeah.
He's
Uh,
like, looks like Wilford Brimley
Yeah.
in this game. Diabetes.
Firaxis is a company like XCOM 2 just came out, and they've announced that the XCOM 2 is coming to the consoles pretty soon too. But I don't know how they do it because these things seem so complex and so scrutinized. Like people are just not happy about the minutia and the decisions that they have to think of. So they have to preconceive where people are going to have problems, then build the game that encompasses all of those shortcomings, those potential shortcomings, and surprise us as well, and do it on a consistent basis. And I don't know if it's because they're based, I think they're in Baltimore or something like that. They're kind of removed from a lot of the hustle and bustle and a lot of cities where a lot of game companies are. There's not as much loyalty, I find, and people sort of float back and forth between studios. And I don't know if that's the reason. You could say the same thing about Bethesda in Maryland, but I feel like they're an incredibly special company for Axis.
As Donald Trump would say, they have very good brains.
They have very good brains.
They have very good brains.
They're so
That's
smart.
what it is.
Yeah.
They're all just super smart. I
Yeah.
mean, at the Dice conference this year, they had the 25th, I think 25th anniversary. I'm going to go 25th anniversary. I'm
Yeah.
not that smart, so it's either 20th or 20. It's got to be 25th.
Sure.
And they had like Bruce Shelley and Sid Meier and like all the guys, Brian Reynolds. They had them all up on stage talking, and like, I mean, the brain power.
They're geniuses.
They're all geniuses. They have like 7 geniuses who were like in charge of the series, and Sid's still there. And you
Yeah,
talked
well,
about,
not only is he still there, but he, from what I understand when I interviewed the XCOM 2 devs, is that he's very much a part of every decision, and he's just sitting, with the rest of the team. He doesn't like to, he gets his name on the box and all that stuff, but he, I think, pulls away from too much spotlight on him otherwise, and he just likes to focus on making awesome games, with the rest of his group.
Well, I think he's making another awesome one
Yeah.
because I really think this is a more attractive civilization to me than Civ 5.
Yeah, and Civ 5 was a great game that looked incredible too.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard, and I keep talking every time we talk about these games about how hard it is to sometimes evaluate the E3 demos because
Yeah.
you get such a weird small slice.
Yeah.
This one's hard because you know, half of the choices that you make, if you just played a new game, you wouldn't make those choices. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and you've screwed yourself because you like built on the wrong tile and you should have farmed fish instead of
Yeah.
gone after whatever. So it's a little hard for me to. How do you talk about a game that's as big and sprawling and open as Civ when you've only played 30 turns or whatever?
Well, I
But
think the big thing. Go ahead.
it's a better. I was gonna say it's a much better entry point. It feels like when you start and you're moving, it makes more sense where you're building, why you're building, what you're trying to do.
Right.
And it's not as bogged down in its systems. It does a better job with its interface, allowing you to kind of see.
Well, there's a logic to it, right? And
Yeah.
one of the things that they told us in their lead up was that they had learned from every previous Civ game, including Revolution. And I was really impressed by Revolution when we played it on the 360 back in the day. Just that they had brought a lot of the core concepts to a console, very accessible experience. Same thing with XCOM. And I felt that there was a logic. I think the biggest thing that they changed with this game was the tiles, unstacking and sort of placing it everywhere. And I think there's probably a general concern around that as a game change amongst the Civ diehards out there. And I've played most of the Civ games in the last few years, maybe last 5 or 10 years. Because we have to move on to whatever next thing we're going to review, so I can't obsess about them, but I certainly play them enough to evaluate them. And I felt from even the limited playtime here that there's nothing really to worry about. I feel like this is a really good step that makes a lot of sense. They curtail some of the mobility options and some of the combining options of some of the other characters, almost, I think, in an effort to balance the sprawl that your physical tile spaces are suddenly starting to take. But it just makes logic sense. It just to see the different building types and things like that, and the physical space on the map getting taken up like that, and the way that they illustrate the map is all so lovely too. They did a great job with that.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like when you're building these things and when you're making your decisions, you really feel it. You feel like you're building a certain kind of civilization. I mean, there's, one of the things that we kind of talked about when I was looking at the game is, if you have a city by the sea and you start really investing in that kind of thing and investing in the ocean, and you can go bigger with that. You could become, if you like Game of Thrones, you could become House Greyjoy.
Yeah.
You don't have to become Stark or Lannister. Like, it feels like there's more options for the kinds of civilizations
Right.
you can build because of the way the tiles work and where you sort of invest in them. And I really like it. It feels like there's a lot going on there. Like you, I was playing it and didn't want to stop, and that is the classic hallmark of Civilization, is just one more turn, and I could have used just one, so
Yeah.
Mission accomplished in that sense.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to get the final on that one too. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.